If you've got a passion for pumpkin, you've got to get to Dunkin' and pick these up. Our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam. And our delicious pumpkin spice signature latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. And our perfectly pumpkin donuts, munchkins treats, pumpkin muffins, and more. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Pick your pumpkin at Dunkin', like our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew, pumpkin spice signature latte, and our perfectly pumpkin treats. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
You should be saving for the future, but savings accounts suck, and investing can be scary. We combine the ease of savings with the real returns of investing. We call it Savesting, and it's only available in our new app, Stairs. Stairs offers 4 to 6% returns, no fees, and you can withdraw anytime. Do your future a favor. Visit StairsApp.com today.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
What up, what up, what up, Hoop Ballers? And welcome to another edition of DFS Today. I am your host, Santino Cacone, and this is your October 29th edition. We have ourselves a nice 7-game slate, and I'm going to run down quickly for you, everybody here. With the first game tipping off at 7 as a standalone game, couple at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one at 8 as a standalone game, and then the last couple to kick off the night. We have 2 at 10, and then the final game at 10:30. All right. Before we get into it, I do want to give a shout out over to our guys at Manscaped, the #1 men's below the waist grooming out there, with all their fantastic products from the Lawnmower 3.0, the Crop Preserver, all of that stuff. You can find everything from boxers to shirts to a handheld bag, anything that you might want, wipes. Looking for it in the Perfect Package 3.0. Absolutely fantastic. I have it myself. I can't get enough of all of these amazing products. When you're on manscaped.com, enter the promo code HoopBall20. You get 20% off and free shipping on any order. Again, 20% off and free shipping when you enter the promo code HoopBall20 at manscaped.com. The holidays are right around the corner, so you're going to want to take advantage of that while you still can. Right, let's get into this nice 7-game slate. The first game on the docket, we have the Magic traveling to Toronto to take on the Raptors. We have a 210 over-under, which is by far the lowest on the spread, and the Raptors are 7-point home favorites. On the injury report, we have Michael Carter-Williams, Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Etuan Moore, Michael Mulder, and Chuma Okeke all out. On the Raptors, we just have Yuta Watanabe and Pascal Siakam as out. Start with the Magic. Surprising Magic so far this year. They're not as terrible as we thought, but they are still obviously not the greatest. Mo Bamba, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., those have been the best players on the team so far. Jalen Suggs had himself one game. Franz Wagner, not bad. Terrence Ross, kind of taking a back seat this year. We still have no Isaac, no Okeke, no Fultz. Honestly, the Raptors have been fantastic defensively. They don't have Siakam yet, but they're the 4th highest or best rated defense in the league, averaging only 99 points against on the year. That is absolutely fantastic. They've forced almost 18 turnovers a game. That's a lot of really good turnovers. And I really don't want to pay up for anybody on the Magic. I can't fault you if you go Cole Anthony. I mean, he's just been having himself a field day out there. He had a 60-point game in there, another game with over 40 PK points. And that 66-point one was against the Knicks in New York. So I can't fault you if you go there. Mo Bamba probably has the best matchup to take advantage of. but I'm only going to take some shots at them. I don't really want to attack this Raptor defense, and I still don't trust fully the Magic. It's just not something that I want to attack at 6.5 and 6.6, but those would be the two favorites on this. You could look at Jalen Suggs, maybe only 5-1, but I'm pretty much going to avoid the Magic in this particular matchup. On to the Raptors. We see Van Vliet is having himself a very solid stretch after the first two games where he wasn't so great. Back-to-back games over 50 DK points. He's now in the 8-1 range. Last two games, he's averaging a very good amount. Over 51 fantasy points there, 51.25. I don't mind looking at him here. I think it's a good matchup. I don't think it'll be a particular blowout, and I think it could be competitive, but it might just be low scoring. But with that said, Van Vliet 8-1, not a bad look. I think we can look Scottie Barnes' way. OG not too bad, but I think we could look Scottie Barnes' way as well. OG is another guy just mentioned, not too bad. Has been having himself a very good game. Back couple games over 40 points. Think Barnes is going to be lower owned. Has a decent shot to produce similar points over 40, especially if it does turn into a lopsided game. I don't think they'll just take Barnes out of the game. Get him running now while they still can before Siakam comes and muddies up some waters over there. Outside of that, I'm not too confident in anyone. This whole center situation with Precious, Boucher, Burke, it's just a cluster. And they're all getting minutes. They're all chopping up. They all have solid fantasy upside, but who's going to actually play 25 plus minutes? It's very hard to beg that. And so far, it's been Precious, and unfortunately, he has the least upside, in my opinion, of those other three. Of the three, oh well, I shouldn't say the least, but he definitely doesn't have the upside of Boucher. But he has been playing 25, 33, 29, 28 minutes. Still can't fully trust it, especially if this game turns into a blowout. And at 5-3, I'm just going to avoid that. Even with him he's gotten 3 double-doubles in 5 games, which is really nice. The defensive stats haven't been there, and he's only top 30.5 fantasy points once, even though he has 3 double-doubles. So the upside isn't huge. He can bring back value if you're looking for a solid value center, but it's not, with Boucher and Burke lurking there, it's not ideal. I would mainly just look at Van Vliet, Scottie Barnes, OG if you want. I mean, he's been playing really well as well, but I'm looking mostly at Van Vliet and Barnes in this one to take advantage of their matchups. Hopefully keep it a competitive game so they don't have to get pulled a little earlier than normal. All right, on to the next one. We have Indiana traveling to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. We have a 223 game total, and the Nets are 9-point home favorites. On the injury report for this one, the Pacers have Malcolm Brogdon as out, TJ Warren as out, Keelan Martin as out, Isaiah Jackson out, and Karis LeVert is questionable. He might make his season debut in this one. On the Nets, we have Kyrie Irving out and Nick Claxton questionable with that illness.
There's more to Kings Island Tricks and Treats Fall Fest than just trick-or-treating. Sure, you'll find rides, hay bale mazes, and pumpkin decorating, but you'll also find craft beer tastings and seasonal cocktails, pumpkin bread pudding, and Day of the Dead fries. It's all here at Tricks and Treats Fall Fest, only Saturdays and Sundays now through October 31st. Enjoy unlimited visits this year and next with a 2022 Gold Pass, only at visitkingsisland.com. It's amazing in here.
Start with Indy here. I think Sabonis is well worth every single penny, especially coming if LeVert doesn't play. They're going to run the offense through him a lot. Coming off that last game where he only took perplexing 4 shots and scored 9 points, he's looking to bounce back big time in this one, especially if the offense is running through him, and we know his ability to pass. He could rack up the assists. 9-4, I think, is a very reasonable price tag for him in this situation. Again, especially if Karis LeVert doesn't play. Karis LeVert does play against his former team in Brooklyn. I know it's a season debut. I'm going to wait on the pregame report, see how he's feeling, see if he's actually going to get a full complement of minutes. Is he going to start at point guard in this one? We've seen Chris Dirte play awesome. Do they take him out of the lineup, his starting lineup, or do they put or insert McConnell? We'll see how everything plays out in this situation. But I am keeping my eye on LeVert. If they're going to bring him back slowly, which makes the most sense, probably I'm not going to look at him at 7-6. But if he's just going to get thrown right into the fire, possibly start at point guard, 7-6 makes a lot of sense against this Nets team. And we know what he can do when he is the main ball handler out there. Outside of that, I think there's a lot to like. TJ McConnell, 5'5", just mentioned it with LeVert. He might get the start. There's no Malcolm Brogdon for at least a couple games. We know what this guy's upside has been when he has gotten the starts in recent years. If he's going to play 30, 35 minutes, 5'5" seems like a cheap price tag. We know he can rack up assists. We know he can rack up steals. He can shoot the ball. And that's something we could do. He sneakily can grab rebounds. He has some random big high rebound games too. So 5'5" is a very reasonable price tag. Dirte, I'm going to leave him alone in this one. I don't know if he's going to fully start. Again, this is a team that we need to watch the pregame report and see LeVert's availability and the starting lineup. But I think we can leave Duarte alone. I don't hate him, but I'd rather have McConnell there if McConnell draws a start. And Miles Turner, I think he's in a solid spot to possibly produce. Or we could also see LeVert, McConnell, and Dirte start, and they send Holiday to the bench. I don't know if that's necessarily what they'll do, but yeah, there's a lot of ways we can look at this. But I think Sabonis, McConnell, LeVert are my top options. And if LeVert doesn't play, then Dirte becomes a little bit more appealing to me in this matchup. All right, jump on over to the Brooklyn Nets side of the ball. And we already know the two big guys. We have Durant, we have Harden. Harden hasn't played great so far to start this year, to say the least. But I'm not worried about James Harden. He hasn't topped 20 points once in 5 games. I think that's about to come to fruition tonight. It's only a matter of time before James Harden gets going. I know the new rules on fouls and offensive created fouls, I guess you could say, has changed a lot for Harden. But I mean, he's one of the best scorers I've ever seen in the last 30 years, maybe ever. So it's only a matter of time. So I don't mind looking at him at 9-6. I think that's a discount as of now. I don't think we're going to hold him down for too much longer. Kevin Durant, you're paying for what you get. Fantastic matchup on anyone. Don't mind going at either of those. We know that Jokic might not play. LeBron's might not play. So they're right at the top of the list of highest priced guys to attack, and it is a very good matchup. I don't think it'll be a blowout, so we can go look at them fairly comfortably. Outside of those two, not a whole lot to love, just because we know the usage that goes through those guys. We see Joe Harris bringing back some solid value. If you have to go there, not bad. We see Blake Griffin probably play. We'll actually see if Nick Claxton does play or not. That might change how I feel about the center position. We will get some more LaMarcus Aldridge, possibly more Blake Griffin at center, possibly more Paul Millsap, or one of them could rest. They don't have the need to have to throw them all in there. But if there's no Claxton, Aldridge becomes very appealing at 4K in this environment, even though Miles Turner is one of the better centers, defenders out there. I think we could take a stab at him, maybe stab at Patty Mills if you wanted to, but not anything we need to force our hand. If we fall into those guys, if we don't have to force them into our lineup to play anybody outside the big two. As of now, if Claxton misses, don't mind throwing LaMarcus Aldridge in there, assuming he gets the start and he's ready to play 35 minutes. All right, jumping on over to the other game at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have the Charlotte Hornets traveling to Miami to take on the Heat. We have a 220 game total, and the Heat are 5.5-point home favorites. We have for the Hornets, Vernon Carey, Scottie Lewis, JT Thor, all out. Terry Rozier questionable. PJ Washington doubtful. That's more out than probable. The Heat, we have Oladipo out, Bam, and Kyle Lowry as probable. We will start with the Hornets. They have been the best defensive team to date on the short year already. It's they've only given up 95 points per game so far. I know it's a small sample size, but it's a good one. Miles Bridges 7-3. We'll start with him because he's been flat out fantastic to start this year. At some point, he's not going to be scoring over 40 like every game. It's crazy. I don't really want to go there. I know people are going to, and other people are going to think what I'm thinking, but I'm gonna let it slide for now and not attack him, even though he's been playing fantastic. LaMelo Ball, after that, since that first game, hasn't been as great. They've been winning, so can't fault him, but he's been getting a lot of turnovers. He's been getting a lot of fouls, and he hasn't been seeing the minutes that we would expect for someone of his caliber. Weirdly, the one game he's seen over 29 minutes, they wound up losing, even though they scored 129 points. Not to say that he should have, and he wound up fouling out. But he's not getting the 35 minutes that we were thinking, so I'm going to hold off on him, especially in this matchup, especially if Kyle Lowry is good to go. Even at this stage of his career, he's still a dog. Don't want to go after him. Gordon Hayward is a guy that I'd be looking at. With no P.J. Washington, I think we could look at Kelly Oubre as well. He's been playing fairly well, and at only 5'9", that's still solid. And Ish Smith, Jaden McDaniels, Cody Martin, I think those three are three guys that we can play on the cheap. Hopefully if you want to play him, hopefully Terry Rozier doesn't play. Hopefully P.J. Washington doesn't play. That gives you nice value there on Ish Smith, Cody Martin, and Jaden McDaniels, all at different positions. I like, and they're all 3.5 to 3. I think you could take a shot at either of them, whichever position you need, whether it's a forward, shooting guard, or point guard. They're all pretty solid plays right there, assuming P.J. Washington and Rozier don't play. Just opens up a lot of minutes in the rotation for them. If Rozier does play, 6'3" is not a bad price tag for him, but I want to see him get his feet wet under him. I don't think they're going to rush him out there. He's only played 23 minutes on the season. All right, jumping on over to the Miami side of the ball. Jimmy Butler is in a fantastic spot. I mentioned about defenses, the Charlotte and how good the Heat have been. The Hornets have been giving up 116 points per game, a lot of them. And while his two big, quote, big three players are coming in probable and going to play, Jimmy Butler is out there at 8,700, and he's just been fantastic. Last two games over 50 DK points, and I just think it's safe. I don't think this will be a blowout. The Hornets are very fun to watch. They play with a super fast pace. It's only going to help Jimmy Butler out here. I love that price tag. I think he's going to comfortably beat it. Maybe not 60-point upside, but in this environment, in this matchup at home, it's possible. I do really like that there. And Tyler Hero, 66. This guy's just shooting. The lowest shot attempts he's taken so far, 12. Outside of that, in the other three games, 17, 18, 28. At 6'6", if he's going to average that type of volume off the bench, just be a gunner off the bench and play a lot of minutes. He has 2 games over 30 minutes, 2 games under 30. So, but that is the type of upside we can attack in GBPs. Not so much cash because he's still coming off the bench. But in this environment, again, he's going to be shooting a lot of shots, fast-paced matchup. Tyler Hero is a guy we can attack. 6'6" is not super high to avoid him here. He could still put up 40 DK points. He might take 20 shots. We don't know. In this matchup, you're going to get a lot of extra shots here. And another guy, Duncan Robinson, hasn't been great, but he's secretly had 10, 10, 10, and 7 shots in all 3 games right now. 4,500 is not a bad price tag. Again, this is a fast-paced matchup. He should find himself open for a lot of threes, and this is an environment that we can attack him. One of the few environments that will attack him now that the Heat are a lot deeper. All right, jumping on over to the first game at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Sacramento Kings, traveling to New Orleans to take on the Pelicans. We have a 221.5 game total. The Kings are 1-point road favorites. For the injury report, we have Josh Hart as questionable, Garrett Temple doubtful, Zion is out. And the Kings have only G League or two-way players out, so no one of significance as of this moment. On the Sacramento side, this is a solid matchup that we can look at. I think De'Aaron Fox at 8,400 does make some sense. Not a bad price tag. I do prefer Jimmy Butler at a couple hundred more, and I think I prefer Van Vliet a couple hundred less. But for GPPs, if you want to separate yourself from the pack, I don't mind going Fox. Barnes, like Bridges just a moment ago, is on fire. Can't try. I don't fully trust it, even though he's beaten this price tag pretty much every game. I still don't want to pay that for him. This is a decent front court right now, even without Zion. This is a decent front court with Ingram and JV playing the most of it. So don't fully want to go there. I still think Halliburton at 6'1" is a solid price tag, even though he's only beaten that twice right now. And Rashawn Holmes, I just mentioned, decent front court, but 5'8" is just super cheap for this guy's talent. He has double-digit rebounds in every game. He scored double digits in 3 of 4 games. His lowest point total on the year was 29 fantasy points, and that was only in 18 minutes. He fouled out against Utah. Outside of that, he's cleared 35 points in all 3 other games, and he's not even 6K. I just think that's easy money here. JV is very solid, but 5'8" is just not a price tag that remotely scares me. And I love some Rashawn Holmes. I think that's just a guy that's going to make the majority of my lineups. If not all, it's just super cheap. On the Pelican side of the ball, JV, right back at him, 8'5". JV's been playing fantastic, and I expect that to continue until, at the very least, until Zion comes back. But he's nearly 3K more than Rashawn Holmes, and I don't think he's 3K worth more or points more worth than that. I prefer Rashawn Holmes in a point per dollar situation, and then I can use that money for someone else higher paid, but I don't hate him here. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a guy we can target at 6'7". Been a theme. There's a lot of these 6.5Ks guys that I've been liking. And Devontae Graham. I think those two guys are guys we can look at. I skipped Ingram. I do like Ingram. I just prefer Jimmy Butler. I think it's just a much better matchup. The Kings are a fast-paced team as well, and they're only a few spots. They're 22nd. They're giving up 114 points per game. But I think we can attack like Walker and Graham here. Possibly Josh Hart if he plays. If he doesn't, we're going to see more of Trey Murphy. We're going to see more of Herbert Jones, probably Najee Marshall. If you want to take flyers on any of those guys, you can certainly do that. If there's no Josh Hart, I can't feel super comfortable with it, though. It's a guy that if you fall on, you're only at with 3.5K to 4K left, that's where you can go, but I'm not plugging them in and building around those guys. I do think a lot of the guards in this environment do work well, though. All right, before we get on to the rest of the games, I do want to give a shout out, guys. The NBA is back, and at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA, the key to victory is a strong starting 5. New customers can bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. So why not make your roster Washington, 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 and oh yeah, Washington. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with new same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code NBA today and bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game, and you win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code NBA today this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. As always, you must be 21 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. And that will do it for our awesome friends over at DraftKings. And now let's go back to the last 3 games that start late on DraftKings slate. Dallas traveling to Denver. That game tips off at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a 218.5 game total. The Nuggets are 2-point home favorites. That's kind of saying that Jokic might play, and I'll get to that. Dallas doesn't have anybody currently on the injury report that they submitted as of today. They did play last night. Porzingis missed. Sterling Brown missed. Boban didn't play either, but this is the back end of a back-to-back for them, so we'll get a injury report later on in the evening. I do know that Trey Burke did travel with the team, even though he missed. It's not a COVID illness, so he just missed protocol or something, so he might be playing. He traveled with the team. On Denver, I alluded to it. We have Vlatko Kankar, Jamal Murray out, but the big one, Jokic, is questionable. They're playing 2 games too, so he might not play one of these. I'm thinking, but we never know. He said he was okay. If it was a playoff game, he'd play. A lot of guys say that. It's early in the season. They could easily just rest him. So that's a obviously huge news that we need to keep an eye on. We'll start with Dallas side. Luka coming off a 7-turnover game. Didn't have many assists, didn't have many rebounds. It's a nice bounce back spot for him, but 11K. If Jokic doesn't play, I don't know how competitive Denver's going to keep it without Jokic. He's pretty much the only reason they're being super competitive on a night-to-night basis without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. not playing the Michael Porter Jr. everybody hoped for. So if he doesn't play, I really don't want to throw Luka in there on the back end of a back-to-back for 11K. If they can start pulling away on this game, there's no need for him to play 30-plus minutes if they're pulling away. Porzingis, who knows if he's going to play? He's Porzingis. I know he missed the first game. It made sense to miss at least 1 game in the back-to-back, but he might just miss 2. We'll see. If there's no Jokic, they have less incentive to rush him back, so we'll see about that. That's big news there as well. Dorian Finney-Smith, solid 5K. I think that's a nice matchup for him. Jalen Brunson, if there's no Porzingis and Sterling Brown, he's going to see more minutes too. They play him at the point, move Jokic over, even if he's off ball. I mean, Luka over, whether one's playing on ball, off ball, either or. I think Jalen Brunson at 4.8 is a solid play. And obviously the guy of the hour, Maxi Kleber, 3-3, fantastic price tag. He played 29 minutes. He didn't draw the start in the last one. Bullock did, but he put up a massive double-double with 6 blocks, a steal, 4 threes. Obviously, he's going to make a lot of lineups here if Porzingis doesn't play, and rightfully so. He matched his career high in blocks. I obviously don't expect that to happen again, but he's a guy who can block a shot or two, can get a steal, can hit some threes, and he can get some rebounds too. So I think even outside of that enormous game, I still think 25 to 30 DK points is well within his reach. And at 3-3, we can definitely take shots at him. He has center and power forward eligibility here, so he's a guy I'll definitely be looking at. We'll see what Porzingis does, and if I have the moves to make it later on in the night. Moving on over to Denver, obviously this entire team hinges on Jokic. If Jokic does play, fantastic matchup, 10-7. If he's ready to play a full complement of minutes, I'm ready to play him. The dude put up 24 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds in 15 minutes against Utah in the last game. My lord, 41.5 fantasy points in 15 minutes. That's absolutely insane. He was 8 of 9 from the field. He's been on fire. His lowest shooting game of the year was the first game of the season, and he shot 13 of 22, which is nearly 60%. That was his worst game of the year. And that was his, I'm not going to even count this last one, 15 minutes. That was his worst fantasy point of game of the 3, and he put up 50. He only had 2 assists. Yes, I'll play. I prefer him over Luka. If he's playing a full complement of minutes, he's just fantastic. The entire team runs through him offensively, defensively, whatever you want to count it. But if he doesn't play, obviously that's massive implications on the rest of the team. Michael Porter Jr. at 6'5" becomes a guy that we just have to play. I can't imagine him taking less than 20 shots if there's no Jokic. Took 18 in the last one against Utah. And I think that's going to up a little bit more, but he has to shoot. The offense is going to likely run through him for the majority of it. Will Barton, never afraid to shoot. Aaron Gordon, 5K, a guy we can attack. The value is certainly there if there's no Jokic. Even if there is, it's not a bad price tag. I still think Aaron Gordon at 5K is teetering on the line of bringing back solid value. But Monte Morris becomes a little bit more valuable at 4-3. Both of the greens, I prefer J. Michael at 3-1, but both the greens 3-1, 3-2. And then Bones. It might be time for Bones to get in the lineup at 3K if there's no Jokic. So there's a lot of cheap value here to be found if there is no Jokic. If there is a Jokic, I'm looking at Gordon probably the most. I think Porter Jr. is still in a solid spot, but I'm mainly looking at Gordon and then Monte Morris possibly to produce. If there is no Jokic, I think value is galore to be found on this Denver team. Take your pick. Go with who you like. I think I still like Gordon. Porter Jr. has to produce. Barton is never afraid to shoot. And again, we have the greens. Bones might be a guy to get some more minutes, and I would take a flyer over him over Morris possibly if there's no Jokic. I need somebody who can get their own shot and is not afraid. All right, jumping on over to the second to last game of the night, we have the Los Angeles Clippers traveling over to the Portland Trailblazers. We have a 225.5 game total, which is ding, 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 the highest on the night. And the Blazers are 4-point home favorites. On the injury report, we have Ibaka is out again. Kawhi obviously out. Marcus Morris Sr. out. Jason Preston out. Keon Johnson questionable. On the Blazers, we have Norman Powell questionable and Tony Snell is out. We'll start with the Clippers here. We have Paul George, 10K, going against the Blazers. These guys played each other a couple nights ago, and Paul George had 8 steals in that one. Didn't do much else. They blew him out by 30 points, in part due to that 8 steals and a bunch of other turnovers from Portland. Fantastic. I don't want to pay 10K for him. He definitely has the ability to beat this, and he did it in the first 2 games. The last 2, not so much. But 10K when you have these other superstars on there, it's hard for me to do it. Fantastic matchup, don't get me wrong. But I would only do it in a GPP to separate yourself from the pack because other people are going to look at that 10K just like me and say, I'm not so sure. We have Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe. Again, 2 people teetering on that 6K mark, which I keep coming back to a lot. I don't hate them. Probably not going to have too much exposure to them. But in GPPs, they make some sense in this really solid matchup against the Blazers team that's going to be pretty pissed off that they lost by 30 against these guys 4 nights ago. So, yeah, that's something we can look at. Terrence Mann, 4.6, I think is a very solid price tag. Batum, 4K, solid price tag. I think there are decent tags on here. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily attack them all. Mann would probably be my favorite value of the team, or Isaiah Hartenstein, but I think I mentioned a guy at center that I really like a lot more. Mainly Mann, and I'll take some shots at Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, possibly Paul George in a GPP, but nothing too much in cash if you're just playing cash. On the other side of the ball, got to see what happens with Powell. I think if Powell doesn't play, Nasir Little again gets the start, and he's been showing a very solid fantasy game. He played 59 minutes the last 2 games without him, and he has 25 and 19 fantasy points. He's been getting steals and blocks, some rebounds, nearly double-digit points. I think 20 to 25 points is very reasonable for him. Again, you don't need to throw him in your lineup and work around him, but if you're at 4K, 4-1, he's definitely a guy you can play and feel confident that he's not going to put up a dud of under 15 points. I think 20 to 25 with the possibility of even more, even hitting 30 is well within his reach at 4-1, and I like that for him here. Lillard, McCollum, they're going to be super angry about the last blowout that they had against this team, so it's something we can look at. The Clippers have been a solid defensive team, top 10, giving up only 103.8 on the year. So it's not somewhere where you want to attack fully, but it is a solid matchup for them. But I don't think I'm going to go with those price tags 9-3, 7-9 with the other options that we have on the slate and a lot of those mid-tier guys that I've been throwing around here. Covington is a guy to possibly look at too at 4-4. Eventually, he's going to make some shots, even though he's only taken a few, but his stocks have been going well. This might be a matchup that he goes into, but that's mainly without Powell. If Powell does play and he's ready to play a full complement of minutes, he would be the guy that I target a little bit more than the other guys on this team at 5-4. We know he can score, and they'll likely need him here, but we'll see exactly if he does play. Outside of that, I'm not fully invested in this game in a DFS standpoint, but it's going to be one of the better ones on the night. All right, let's go to the last game on the docket. We have the Cleveland Cavs traveling to Los Angeles to take on the other LA team, the Lakers. We have on the spread a 220 over-under, and the Lakers are 9-point home favorites. On the injury report, we have Taco Fall, Isaac Okoro, and Kevin Pangos all out. On the Lakers, we have Ariza, Talen Horton-Tucker out. They're not going to be back anytime soon. But we have Sekoy, Doumbouya, Wayne Ellington, and they're both questionable, and Anthony Davis is probable. Surprising that Mr. James, who's missed a couple games here, is not on this list. Well, nope. This was updated. Very weirdly, he's not on the official injury report as of what I'm doing now, but he was questionable. I don't know why the NBA official injury report didn't have him, but is listed as questionable. I thought that was really weird, as is Rajon Rondo. So we will get into that. But we'll start with the Cavs, and where to start? Who is their new player that's been awesome? Yeah, we'll start with Evan Mobley. Before we get into that, the Cavs have they're the 7th best defensive team as of this moment, even though they're playing 3 centers. And I said Markkanen's kind of a center. And then the Lakers are the worst defensive team in the league as of right now at 119.6 points per game given up. Evan Mobley has been fantastic. Another guy in that 6 to 7 range. On the last 2 games, kind of coming back down to earth with only 22 combined actual points and 7 of 18 shooting. But I still think we can look his way. But I do like the Garland and Sexton combos a little bit more. With Okoro out, we saw Sexton get more minutes. With them playing big, Okoro's been playing some shooting guard, taking some of Sexton's minutes. We already know Rubio's playing a lot. But Sexton was able to play the most minutes of the season in the last one with 38. He got up 20 shots, only the second time in 5 games that he's been able to do that. And he scored 26 points. Again, only the second time on the season that he's able to do that. And that's partly due to the extra minutes. He's only played 30 minutes above 29 minutes twice. In both those games, he happens to have over 26 plus fantasy actual points. And he has about 40, a little over 40 on average points fantasy, and he has over 20 shots in both those games. So sounds like a trend. If he's going to play over 30 minutes, he's probably going to play or shoot 20 or so shots. He might drop 35 plus fantasy points, and this matchup is very solid for him. And I do like Colin Sexton at 6'5", similar to Darius Garland at 6'6". I think it's another very solid matchup for him. And he's been playing pretty well, but I think I lean towards Sexton here. Rubio at 5'6". He's been racking up assists. The last game he didn't, but he's a guy you can look at. I still prefer Sexton if you have that extra 900. Jared Allen at 6'2". Didn't have a double-double in the last game, but the 2 before that, he was really well. I think this is a solid matchup for him, especially if they play a lot of DeAndre Jordan, and which I don't know why, and Dwight Howard. But Jared Allen's in a solid spot here. Again, I still prefer Sexton at 300 more, but I think Allen's another guy. Then you're looking at like a Lauri Markkanen at 5'3". I think that's super cheap. Kevin Love at 5'1". I shouldn't say super cheap, but I think that's cheap enough to where that both those guys can bring back value if they play enough minutes in. With Okoro, there is extra minutes to be found there. Markkanen can play the 3 a little bit more. Kevin Love can play the 4 and 5. Just opens up things. But those are the guys I'm looking at. Mainly Sexton. I think he's my favorite play on the team. And then if you want to go a little bit cheaper, Markkanen and Love should have some extra minutes available at their disposal there. On the Lakers side, a lot of it hinges on, and then this game starts the last at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the only game to do so. But a lot of it hinges on, we know LeBron James is questionable. He's after they lost to the Thunder, he probably will play if he can, even if he's at 80%. It's probably more of a medical decision on the medical team too, I would assume. But I can imagine he wants to dominate his old team. We're looking at Westbrook, Davis, and LeBron James all from 9-5 to 9-9. The Cavs have not been giving up a lot of scores. They've been playing slower basketball, which makes sense because they have 3 7-foot guys playing in their starting lineup. So why are they gonna try and run and not try them and like outrun teams? It doesn't make too much sense there. But I don't really want to go after either of them. If LeBron misses, it does open up things for Westbrook and Davis. We know Westbrook can get a triple-double, so that'll be a little bit better for me. Davis, I don't know. He's probable. He's a little banged up too. If LeBron does play, I don't really want any of them. If LeBron doesn't play, mostly Westbrook, where I'm going to lean. And then we'll look at the rest of the guys like Melo has the score, Bazemore, Monk. Monk's a solid play. I think regardless, he might have earned himself a spot in the starting lineup at 4K. That's pretty solid. But there's nothing at the moment that I'm in love with, depending on LeBron James's availability. And even then, I don't think I love it, but I would like to play Monk a little bit more. I think Melo can play more if LeBron doesn't play. And then you can like Westbrook a lot more too. But if LeBron does play and they're all playing, it's going to take some time for this team to gel and see where they are. So I would take stabs and GPPs, but nothing in cash. I don't think you can feel super safe in cash on a slate like this. I mean, we have the Jokic's who might play, the Lucas, the KDs, the Paul Georges, the James Hardens, Sabonis, and so on. Lillard. I don't want to take any stabs on this team in cash games at the moment, depending on LeBron's availability. And that pretty much does it for the slate itself. I can run down my favorite plays here. Give me 1 second. We can start with the high price guys, and my favorite high price guy on the night. There are quite a few, but I'm going to throw out someone who's not in the Super Saiyan territory because I think that's a little easier. But I'm going to throw out Jimmy Butler, 8,700. Again, he's not in the Super Saiyan territory. There's a possibility that you can still get him and a guy like Sabonis at 9.4 and not have to do any super cheap guys. You can still fill up around that 6Ks, 4Ks, where I had a lot of people that I like. So I'm going to go Jimmy Butler. Fantastic matchup against the Hornets, who just like to run. They have a lot of young guys. They're running a lot, giving up a lot of points. Butler's been playing fantastic. 8,700 is a very reasonable price tag for him. So I will take a lot of Jimmy Butler. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. So it's going to be a really competitive game. So I think we can feel comfortable taking him there when we have so many other options there anyway. In the mid tier, I'm going to go with a guy I just think is super cheap in Richaun Holmes. I think I mentioned a ton of guys in the 6K range, so I can say quite a few that I really like. And instead of going that route, though, I'm going to take a guy at 5'8" that I just think is extremely cheap. Richaun Holmes is just bringing back value. He's been hitting 30 fantasy points every matchup. The only time he didn't hit 30 fantasy points, he only played 18 minutes against Utah when he fouled out. And he still had 29 fantasy points. That's still bringing back value at his price tag. He's hitting value on his price tag exactly. I just think every other game at 30-plus points, it's just easy for him. At 5'8", super cheap to do that. And my favorite value play of the night will go under 4K with this one. Or no, we'll do under 5K. That's normally what we do. I think there's some solid ones there as well. I think the easiest one to say is that that guy over in Dallas, Maxi Kleba, but we won't do him because he's probably going to be very chalky. So I'll go with, depending on who's in, who's out. I do like some. Wanted to say Nasir Little, but I won't. Again, I changed my mind. I won't do who's in, who's out. I'm just going to go with a guy who should play pretty solid, and Terrence Mann at 4.6. He's probably the lone guy that I like in that game that I'll go with. And at 4.6, that's really solid. But again, I think this value play and a lot of these value plays is going to change on who's in and who's out because there are so many guys, big names included, that are possibly missing this matchup. So that's going to change throughout the day. When we get news, we know Jokic, LeBron are a couple of the names. We know Brogdon's out, but does LeVert is another name. Porzingis is another name. There's a lot of big guys here who are going to change things, like even Rozier, PJ Washington. The Hornets have a lot of value there. So there's a lot of guys that are going to change that value play. So keep an eye on that. That's the biggest news, and that's the biggest thing of this slate. Who are the favorite value plays? Keep an eye on those news and who's in, who's out. But thank you guys as always for tuning in, and we will catch you again tomorrow. Peace.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.
At Kings Island, it's never too early to start thinking about next year's fun. That's why we're offering the lowest price of the year on a 2022 Gold Pass right now. That includes unlimited visits this year, so you can enjoy Tricks and Treats Fall Fest, Haunt, and Winterfest. Then unlimited visits next year to try new foods, hang with the Peanuts gang at Planet Snoopy, scream on our world-class coasters, and splash away at Soak City Water Park. All for as low as $105 plus applicable taxes and fees. Hurry, offer ends October 31st. So get your Gold Pass now at visitkingsisland.com. It's amazing in here.
Excited for a road trip? Start it off right with auto coverage from American Family Insurance. J.D. Power ranked us #1 in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance shopping experience among mid-size insurers. Get a quote at amfam.com.
American Family Insurance.
For J.D. Power 2021 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.